Loading.
Oh, we could be live.
Oh, wow, there
we're
we
live.
go.
We're live.
We're live.
Sorry,
Raptor
no countdown today.
fans, don't desert your Toronto Raptors. Don't desert us because we're technical buffoons. I'm your host, GoFundMe, the refs, also known as Aiden Moss. I'm joined by the depressed duo of Kyle Brickman and Sahal Abdi. Boys, we just watched the Raptors lose to the Philadelphia 76ers, 112-97. Also, we're joined by our producer, Don Yang, in the background, FYI. Peaks and valleys this game. A lot of valleys, couple of peaks, couple of momentary joys and silver linings. Collectively, not an ideal effort tonight. Sahal, give me your general thoughts on the game.
It went from optimism when the game started because Gary Trent Jr. was active, and not only was he active, but he was starting. And I felt like the overwhelming opinion amongst Raptors fans was that there was not a lot of panic after game one. I know Scottie was out, but Toronto's still a very competitive team. And I mean, the hope was that the Philadelphia 76ers wouldn't get as many calls as they got. I mean, to be fair, the Raptors do foul them quite a bit, and some of that has to do with the style of play. But I mean, there's a lot of fouls, and then there's Embiid getting 21 free throw attempts in the first two halves of the first two games. I think he has 21 free throw attempts in like 16 or 7 minutes. Or sorry, 17 or 18 minutes in the first two halves of games one and two. So
he had more free throw attempts today than all of the shots combined.
Yeah, I mean that's probably how the series
run, and I think everyone at home was like, "Here, this is more like it." Like, finally, the Raptors are playing their style of basketball, and then it was quite literally downhill from there for the rest of the game. And it's hard to even draw a silver lining. I mean, they missed Scottie a lot tonight. Hopefully, he'll be back. You know, the series shifts to Toronto now, but in general, like it's just ugly tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think I don't know where to begin. I think there's a lot of adjustments. I just don't think we need to make more quickly than we are. One being, you know, we talked about Harris and Danny Green killing us in the corners. I don't think we should be like doubling as much on Embiid. I think we need to be letting him go in isolation. I think like offensively, I don't think we're leveraging our advantages the best we can. We get into these like sloggy one-on-one at the top of the key half-court sets, and I'd like to see more exploitation of Maxey and Harden. Like, we need to start punishing those guys on the offensive end so that when they come down the other side, they're a little bit sore. Like, we're supposed to be the physical ones in this series, and I think the refs have kind of taken us out of that a little bit. It's thrown us out of sorts. Like, when we're not physical, we're still getting called for fouls. So, like, how can you be physical when you're already, you know, like you've got one or two in the first 8 minutes of the game? So that's really hurt us because I think that was a major part of our strategy.
Yeah, for sure. The stop-start nature of this entire series so far has been so painful to watch. I mean, to be fair, most NBA fans would watch these two teams, and there isn't, you know, tons of really fun players to watch. I mean, for Raptors fans, of course, you have fun watching Siakam, but there's no real flashiness in this series. So most people were expecting a slow half-court series, a lot of double teams on Embiid, which we've seen nonstop. A lot of packing the paint versus Siakam and very good perimeter switches. And in this series, I should say, it's just the refereeing has made it almost unwatchable. It's not something that I want to focus on too much because it takes away from the actual struggles that the Raptors are having and from how well the Philadelphia 76ers are playing. I mean, Tyrese Maxey is playing like a superstar right now, not an all-star. He's playing like a superstar. I think he's shooting 70% in both games or something around that from the field. Tyrese Maxey's been going absolutely crazy. I tweeted myself, guys, that now I see why Masai Ujiri was holding out for Tyrese Maxey in that proposed or reported trade for Kyle Lowry with Philadelphia, right? Tyrese is a star. He's a guy that he has the ability to do so many things on the court. I did not know he could shoot the ball that well. That just comes from, I guess, us not watching the 76ers as much, really just judging them from the games that we saw. And Maxey didn't play all that bad in the regular season games. It's just he's taken it to a whole nother level. In this game, you could see from the bottom of the screen, 23 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists, 8 for 11. So that's even better than 70% from the field. It's just been very painful. And if you're a Raptors fan and you're watching this, I'm sure most of you guys didn't turn off the TV screens or whatever you're watching, your laptop screens, because it's the playoffs, right? I mean, Raptors made a little run at the end there, but it's one of those things where game 1 you could draw some positives. Game 2 looked like a total mess from so many different angles.
We should talk about that. I wanted to touch on so last game we said, it's an aberration. Like the Raptors are the best at turning other teams over, and they only turn them over twice. So they're the great offensive rebounding team, and they only had 7 offensive rebounds. Yeah, tonight that wasn't the case. Tonight the Raptors actually, the Sixers turned the ball over 14 times. The Raptors had it's not a ton, but the Raptors still had 13 offensive rebounds. They still won that battle. And so, those are the things we identify that needed to change in order for the Raptors to win, game 2. They changed.
Yeah.
Nothing changed.
I think going back to Maxey, though, Freddie's really struggling to stay in front of him. And
badly.
This is sometimes with I know we give Nurse a lot of credit for being this tactician and making changes, but sometimes you just kind of wonder how long he's going to go with one strategy or one approach. And I just think that I actually I know early on the audience here was hating on Flynn. I actually thought he had a good game. Offensively, he was obviously nervous, whatever, but he can stay in front of Flynn. Or in front of Maxey a little bit more. He can give you that agility out front. Freddie's just not moving well. And I think this game fell on Freddie's shoulders on both sides of the floor, right? He defensively was not there against Maxey. His team defense was great. When he doubled, he was great. But out in the open floor, in the half court, high above the 3, he was just getting burned. And then offensively, he's missing all these shots. And, you could tell in the fourth quarter he's bagged, but he holds on to the ball. He doesn't push it in transition. He kind of curls around and then pulls it back out and then heaves himself or makes a lazy pass. I think we need to pull Freddie off the ball on both ends and, leverage what abilities he still has with a hobbled knee and give the ball over to other guys on this team.
Yeah, we got to be honest, though. These Raptors are tired. They cannot hang deep in games in the same way that the Sixers are. And that's part of that is Nurse ran them into the ground in the regular season. And we ought to just acknowledge that. We were talking about on this podcast every single night, how the hell does Fred keep playing 40 minutes? Why is he playing 40 minutes in games where the Raptors are losing or winning by 20 points? And it's shown. Pascal's tired out there. OG is coming off an injury. Fred is coming off an injury. Those guys are looking tired late in games. The Sixers in that third and fourth quarter, when the guys are getting really into their second and third reserve energy, the Raptors just don't have it. It's shocking. There's a huge difference.
I mean, when Gary doesn't play or plays very little, the onus is on Fred to kind of pick up the slack in terms of his shot creating ability. This was tough. Yeah. I mean, going into this game, everybody seemed like they were injured or hobbled, but I mean, it is what it is. Raptors fans still had some hope that things would change versus Philadelphia. And I think you have a point, Adon, because going 6 for 18 for Fred in the first half is not something you want to see, right? 18 shots in the first half. He played every single minute in the first half. I mean, if there's another way Nick Nurse can flat out tell you that he doesn't trust this bench, that's probably it. I mean, you're rarely ever going to see a starting guard, point guard, whatever you want to call Fred, play every single minute in the first half. And he just looked exhausted. And you're right, Adon, because as soon as Malachi Flynn came in, I started to realize just how I just started to realize how Fred's mobility. Wow, that was bad. I just started to realize how Fred's mobility was really, really lacking on the defensive end. Like Malachi Flynn looked springy defensively. Like he was jumping around. He was on the switches. I think now we're getting to the point where if Fred's going to take this much offensive burden on his shoulders, you might have to just hide him defensively, not because he cannot play defense, but just, I mean, if they're going to start Danny Green, maybe just sit him on Danny Green. If he switches, then it's a whole different story, right? But that's the only guy where I would feel comfortable, where maybe Fred can catch a breath. And again, I don't think it's because he struggles to guard these guys. I think he's just coming into the playoffs hobbled. He's coming into the playoffs with a knee injury that he's trying his best to play through, and we're starting to see the after effects. And now he's playing far too many minutes for us to go, you know what? That's okay. I mean, Fred, yeah, he played the first half. We'll accept a 7 for, I don't know what he shot, 23 from the field. Yeah, you gotta just hide those guys. Pascal, I don't know if you could hide him. And another thing with Pascal that I realized is that this is one of the first few games, guys, where Pascal actually looked tired. Like, I've been shocked the last few months watching Pascal in terms of why doesn't this guy look tired? His stamina is unreal. And this is the first game in months where I'm like, wow, Pascal looks absolutely exhausted in this game. Kyle, I don't know what they're going to do about the fatigue. I think is it 2 days off and then it's Thursday in Toronto.
Wednesday.
I'm not okay. So it's one day and then back in Toronto. So I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Pascal missed a lot of bunnies tonight.
Yeah, I was going to say this feels like the first bad Pascal game we've had in like 2 months.
Yeah,
I could be forgetting some, but this was the first game with Pascal in the last, in recent memory where I was like pretty frustrated with his play, and that hasn't been it's been a testament to his willpower, like offensively, that I haven't felt that way in a long time, because he's been taking a ton of shots and he's been excellent, but tonight he just didn't have it. He seems a little bit afraid to get all the way downhill and get it going, like, really threatening to get going towards the rim, because Embiid's such a good rim protector. Like, a lot of his stuff is based on basically like the threat of getting downhill and laying it up, and then he has all these counters off of that, like a spin move back into the middle of the lane, a little step back, all of that. But if you can't threaten going driving directly to the hoop, then all of those little counters don't necessarily work as well.
Yeah, Embiid, for how annoyed I am by him, especially on the offensive end, has completely busted up everything we have in the half court defensively. Like, he had one possession where he was out in ISO on Freddie, and Freddie couldn't get by him. But just him looming in the key, you see time and again a Raptor getting to that second level and having to turn around or just get like flustered or intimidated by Embiid's presence. And we're not used to that. Although Pascal did have some nice finishes in contact, in traffic, and that's another improvement in Pascal's game, is that he usually had trouble with those kinds of finishes. I still think we need to go to Pascal more. We need to get him in spots where he can kind of attack, like where Embiid has to come over further. And then we find those those cross-court passes, corner passes, because attacking to the top of the elbow isn't really working, because the Philly defense can adjust accordingly quickly, and or we don't have a great shooter in the corner, i.e. like Ken Birch or something. So I have liked Precious roaming that baseline. We had a couple of those. That was nice, but
yeah. Well, another problem I think with this entire series in games 1 and 2 has been the fact that in the regular season, Toronto had no problem, destroying Philadelphia in the non-Embiid minutes on the court. And here Toronto is, every time Embiid exits that floor, which is pretty rarely, like he's played quite a bit, obviously, in the series, as he should. He's been like the fulcrum of the 76ers chaos, like we keep mentioning. The Raptors aren't even winning the non-Embiid minutes. So it's not even like, this is why I say it's very tough to draw positives, because if it was one of those things where Embiid comes in, Philadelphia's up 15 or 10 or 8, he leaves, the Raptors cut it down. That's not what's happening, right? Philadelphia is up, and sometimes when Embiid leaves the floor, they, increase that lead, which is not great. And credit to Doc Rivers. I know, guys, we were talking about him previous, going into this series and our preview and all that stuff. I don't want to say he's out-coached Nick Nurse, because I feel like that's just such an easy thing to say when a team is up 2-0 or when a team's up in the series. I don't know if it's necessarily that. I just think Doc has done a fantastic job with Philly's rotations. Like the way he is staggering Embiid and Harden and Tobias and Maxey, it's incredible. This was a tweet I put up right after halftime, and it was essentially a summary of why Toronto is quite literally in hell right now. The two best players, Pascal and Fred, were shooting poorly, and they did not look like they had any fatigue. They had any gas left in the tank. Joel had 21 free throw attempts, like I mentioned earlier, in the first two halves of the series. Philadelphia obviously winning the non-Embiid minutes, like I just mentioned. Toronto's not getting anything from their bench. Sixers players like Niang and all of these random guys, Tywell, and are hitting their shots. And then, of course, at the end, the thing that most Raptors fans have been talking about is the refs. And the whistle has been tight this entire series, to say the least. I mean, Embiid had more free throw attempts in the first quarter than the Raptors had the entire game as a team. So, tough.
I will say we should move on to there were a few positives, but I'm just going to do one more doomer thing just before we move on. The Raptors did what they needed to do, according to us, according to a lot of people, was win the possessions battle. They did that, still lost the game. They can't win the non-Embiid minutes, which they did in the regular season. In fact, not only they did, everyone did in the regular season. Those minutes with Harden and the bench were negative per 100 possessions. Every team in the league was killing them in those minutes, and the Raptors can't. So
what's a trip though is we won the bench points 24-13. We won the points in the paint by 12. What killed us was the fast break, and that's our bread and butter. That's the advantage we're supposed to have. And to me, that's concerning. And it comes down, I think, to what your guys' point is, which is exhaustion. It's Maxey being a single transition break himself. And it's Harden playing really well as a playmaker. Like, he's really picking us apart. And so that, I think, if we're going to look back on one of the major reasons why we just got shellacked in this game, it's 22-10 in fast break points for Philly.
Yeah. Maxey is he's kind of has next level speed. It's like when you're watching the Chiefs in football and you see Tyreek Hill, and it's oh, there's a lot of fast guys out there, but this dude's next
he's
level.
Explosive.
Maxey in the open court might be the fastest player in the NBA. The way he gets up and down the floor is pretty crazy.
Kentucky just breeds these superhuman fast point guards. I don't know.
That's true. Fox, it might be Fox and
Brandon
Maxey too.
Okay, so
Brandon Knight. It's a good shout, I guess.
There's so
Marcus Teague.
Oh, this
guy's going into deep in the bank. Let's get into some positives really quick. And before we do, I just want to remind everybody watching, I'm surprised. First of all, we want to thank everybody watching, whether you are a Philadelphia fan, because I do see some Philadelphia fans in here, or a Raptors fan, or just a generic NBA fan. We appreciate you watching. If you could like the stream, we would appreciate it. And take part in the conversation in the comments. We don't honestly care if you're anti-Raptors, pro-Raptors. We just love conversation.
Phil Evans, I gotta say, you can do whatever you want in the chat as long as you no bigotry or whatever, but you gotta like the stream. You can be in the chat trolling Raptors fans all day. I don't really care. You get these people worked up. You're not getting us worked up. But
to be fair, it would probably be the other way around.
Phil.
Yeah, it would probably be the other way around on a Philadelphia. If Toronto was up 2-0 on a Philadelphia live stream, it'd probably be the other way around. So, I mean, Philadelphia fans, we got to give them their credit. I mean, it just is what it is. I'm not a sore loser. I'm not sure a lot of people watching are. Just, it is what it is. You just got to let them talk. They right now they're up 2-0. They can talk. It is what it is. Positives, Kyle. I'll start with one name for sure that was a positive that I think should be featured in the next game, and that is none other than OG Anunoby. He played a fantastic game in this one. He barely missed, 10 for 14, 26 points. I didn't understand why he wasn't shooting from the perimeter more often, because seven, I know 7 is normally quite a bit, but 7 3-point attempts just isn't enough for OG when you're 10 for 14. And your two best players are 14 for 43, Pascal and Fred. So OG was definitely a positive in this game. I don't know how he made that shot. That was ridiculous. He was great. I mean, we saw everything from OG. We saw the fade. You see the fade here. You saw the fade in the last possession before that. Here, he just dribbles the ball out. And, I mean, they're attacking this Niang guy. This is something that they have to do in the minutes that Philadelphia wants to stretch the floor with Georges Niang, who, by the way, is a terrific 3-point shooter. It was funny when Jack Armstrong guys was like, well, I don't understand why this guy's on the court, and the Raptors could attack him every single, and then boom, he just hits a three, and Matt Devlin's like, well, Jack, that's why he's on the court, and it is what it is. So OG is a definite positive. What do you guys think about his game?
Yeah, it's funny. I feel like oftentimes it's such a cliche in basketball to be like, this dude falls in love with his outside shot too much, especially about forwards. Like, I feel the opposite about OG. He's not in love enough with his outside shot. He's going to take his outside shot out for like a romantic spa weekend and connect with it again. I don't know why he's taking guys off the dribble and stuff like just, man, you're a terrific shooter. There's no need to over dribble the way he does sometimes. I think that nights like this, where he's a consistent and willing shooter from the outside, he can have a tremendous impact like throughout this entire series in this similar way if he just commits to being a shooter. You're a shooter. Shoot the ball, man, with confidence. You shouldn't there's no reason Freddie should take 10 more shots than OG when OG has it rolling like this.
Don't get me wrong, I love OG, and I don't know what it is, but in the past 2 weeks he actually looks like a man suddenly. He just looks like he's filled out, like he looks older, I guess. And it's this gets me really excited for the next couple of years, especially as he becomes this dead-eye shooter. But a lot of a couple of shots he hit tonight, I think were a little bit fortunate. He stumbled a lot. He fell over 3 times. He had that awful turnover when we were only down 11 and Maxey went down and banged a 3, which basically sealed the game. So OG is, to me, OG is a place of exploitation in the half court. And we need him to punish Harden or Maxey either down low or Niang on the perimeter. We need that. But he can't be our go-to guy. We can't rely on him to lead us in and out of games just because I don't think he has the arsenal of moves, No,
yeah, you're preaching to the choir. I think everyone here agrees that with that. I'm just saying he has open shots that he either passes up or tries to attack closeouts on. It's just shoot that. I don't have any problem with it.
Yeah, totally. I want him to. He definitely has a green light if he has space, no question.
It was a very quirky offensive game from OG Anunoby. He hit a lot of tough shots, and he hit some shots where you're like, you know what, OG, we just need you to take over at this point. And this series it's looking tougher and tougher because now at this point, the next game 3 back in Toronto is on Wednesday. You do not know if you have Gary Trent Jr. I mean, I would assume he would be there, but you just don't know. Scotty he's in a walking boot today. I know he's smiling and he's happy and he's laughing, but being in a walking boot on a Monday night probably doesn't bode well for your chances on a Wednesday. And it's difficult. I don't know. I mean, Toronto's probably going to have to rely on the triumvirate of Fred, OG, and Pascal again, and they're going to need a lot from their bench. Are there any other positives you guys want to bring up from this game?
I have one. I have Embiid's 14 for 31 in 2 games, and he hit a couple of really lucky ones tonight, like that back pivot fadeaway 3, which is I know he's capable of hitting it. It's not a shock that he hit it, but it's still a pretty, he's not going to hit that, 7 out of 10 times or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I think that's something that we can build our defensive strategy on. It's
but Adon, does it matter though if he's 14 for 31 if he's going to the free throw line every minute of the game? I don't know if it even matters anymore.
Well, but I think my point is you're just we have to live with that. I think we're doing a pretty good job. He's not absolutely murdering us. Some of the foul calls in the first half were total bullshit. And it's that is what it is. What are we going to do about it? We can't, that's on the refs, I don't think fucking Doug Smith about the reason why Embiid has 12 free throws is because we foul. It's there's a little bit of reaching, but there's a lot of reaching everywhere, and it doesn't make sense that he's getting all these calls. But regardless, I think that's a positive we can take from this is that we can let Embiid get his. He has not been that efficient yet, but we need to focus in. And I think we live with Birch and Precious trying to lock him up. If he gets super down low, we got to double team him. But otherwise, we live with the one-on-one. and we got to start. So then we got to start focusing on the other guys and not giving up the corners. It's very clear Philly has made it very very. Philly has focused on hitting the corners. Like if you look, anytime Harden or Embiid gets a sniff of a double team, they're immediately hitting the corners, and it's killing us, especially because they're hitting them. So I think like we need to start thinking about not helping off those corners so much and living and dying with Embiid one-on-one.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. I saw this. This one was when Harden hit his head. When Harden hit his head, that foul was so brutal too. Like all four of them ran into each other, and we get the foul.
Was that the play? Was that the play where Embiid and Harden were just lying down beside each other?
Yeah, they both fell over, moaning and whining. Our two guys were like, "Where's the foul?" Like,
yeah, it just didn't make sense.
Okay,
Taxman. Are we giving that to?
It has to be OG. It's the only person we've identified as doing anything positive tonight.
Well, Boucher's got it.
Boucher had a great night.
Boucher did, yeah. Shout out to him. Huge night. And by the way, when I was reading out that tweet of the first half summary that I tweeted out earlier, the bench was zilch until Boucher just took over in the second half. And what I love about Boucher is no matter how much the Raptors are down, his passion is great. Like he's always trying to rev up the team with his energy, and I love it. I mean, the putbacks, everything. He just goes 100 no matter what. You can't be mad at a guy like Chris Boucher. I think overall, I mean, the season's not over yet for the Raptors, but overall, a good year, I think, from Chris. Started off very poorly and then just got better and better and better and better. And then obviously in the playoffs so far, he's looked pretty good. So shout out to Chris. He's done good.
OG Anunoby, Taxman of the night, 9 for 15. No, wait. That was, 9 for 15. No, this is the wrong stats.
10 for 14. 10
I'm
for
on
14.
I'm on last game.
4 of 7 from 3. Some 3 assists, 26. He didn't even really get into foul trouble. He turned the ball over only 3 times, which is good for him. A tremendous performance.
Congratulations, OG.
Too bad it was a 20-point loss, a 20-point playoff loss.
That was brought to you by canamtax.com. Still haven't done my taxes. Time's running out. Go check out their website. You can check out their Google reviews. They're happy to help you out. Tell them Raptors Republic sent you. They'll help you with your small business taxes and your personal taxes, whatever you need. Maybe help set up a Cayman Islands account. I don't know. I don't know if they do that kind of thing or not. We're going to get out of here pretty quickly.
Let's look forward.
What's you guys tell me one adjustment you each make going into next game?
Kyle, do you want to go first? Okay. Adjustment wise, I think probably the Embiid-less minutes, you need to be staggering those so that Siakam is on the floor. Like you need your best lineup out there, or whatever, your best bench combo lineup out there when Embiid isn't out there, because those are the minutes you absolutely have to win. It seems like, they're capable of running an offense. And you basically want to just get even with Embiid while him and Harden play together. If Embiid's sitting, you want to win those minutes by a huge margin. And I think you're capable of doing that with Siakam and, maybe even Siakam plus Fred on the floor. I don't get why you would ever, you really need Siakam owning those minutes.
I mean, the Raptors played their guys tonight. They were very tired. They played them to the end. They still don't have any answers for Joel Embiid. I know he's not shooting the best percentage from the floor, but again, that doesn't matter quite as much when he's getting to the free throw line at the rate he is. Still overreacting to James Harden, all the closeouts and all that stuff. And James Harden's proved that he doesn't really need to score to have an impact on the game. One of the best playmakers in the league. Maxey and Tobias are still burning you. So, I mean, it's tough. And then you're still not generating offensive rebounds and transition chances. So, and you're 2 games in, right? This could easily end very soon for the Raptors if they do not fix up very quickly. And I know I sound like a broken record when I talk about offensive rebounds and transition opportunities, but it really just comes down to what Kyle said, obviously staggering the minutes so you have better matchup advantages. better advantage creation with the players you put out there. But also, I think the key to this game is you have to dominate with guys like OG Anunoby, guys like Gary Trent Jr. I felt like it feels like 2 games into the series that the Raptors have really relied on 2 guys, and that's been Fred and Pascal. And OG just turned up right in this game. But I mean, you need OG for games 3, 4, and 5, possibly 6, possibly whatever it's going to be. You need the peripheral guys to play well for Toronto. And I think guys like Gary Trent Jr., guys like OG, guys like Precious, Boucher, who played really well tonight again, they have to play well. They just have to. It's easy to say, Raptors stick to their strengths, generate this and generate that, but they're not doing that. So the Raptors need more shot creation from guys not named Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet. I think that's what it really comes down to. If you can get that and you can play solid half-court defense, I think you're in good hands. I still don't know if Nick Nurse is going to change or, I don't know, fix up the strategy with Tyrese Maxey, because I don't think it's a situation where you can just go, well, I mean, if he scores, he scores, because that's what I was saying after game 1. Tyrese Maxey's probably not going to have another game like this again, but he's a good player. So he's a very good player. And then you have James, Tobias, and Joel to worry about. So, Raptors need more shot creation from the peripheral players on the roster.
Carl.
Yeah, I would say just in general, okay, these 2 were really ugly losses, but basketball is luck, especially when teams are shooting even more threes. The variance is so high. The Sixers shot 50% from 3 last night, or whatever, 2 nights ago. They shot 46% from 3 tonight, or whatever, close to 47%. Okay, even if all those threes are wide open, that's still a ridiculous percentage to be hitting from 3. It's unrealistic. So the series is shifting to Toronto. Maxey won't play, or sorry, no, I keep screwing that up. Thibault won't play. There won't the Sixers role players won't be as effective. They'll be on the road. The shooting will probably normalize, or I would bet the shooting would come back to normal. And while we're talking betting, while we're here, we are sponsored by ScoreBet. We have to bring it up. The Sixers are on the road in Toronto on Wednesday, is it? Or Thursday? Wednesday. And
it's Wednesday, yeah.
If the Raptors are to win a game, it better be Wednesday. And if they're winning a game in the series, it will be Wednesday. So the link is in the description.
Double down.
The link is in the description. I know everyone in this chat has probably lost tons of money already, but Wednesday, the Raptors are at home. The shooting has been ridiculous. They've been unlucky. So, click the link in the description. I'm sure you've seen the score bet everywhere, including at the Blue Jays games, at the Raptors games, every Sportsnet commercial ever run, even on our program now. So
they're taking over.
In the description, they're taking over.
They're taking over really quick, guys. The last thing I want to mention in terms of adjustments, Raptors have to find better defensive adjustments. It's really that simple. I alluded to this as well as Adon earlier in the show. You got to start hiding Fred, gathering his energy for his offense, right? Because if you could hide him on Danny Green for a little bit, that's probably the best you can do. And then, guys, I'm going to be quite honest. Gary Trent Jr. just cannot guard James Harden anymore. James Harden,
free Yuta.
It's just, he can't. That's the one matchup that's just being exploited. It seems like James Harden's struggling to score in the series unless Gary Trent Jr. is on him. Will Lou made a funny joke during the game where he's like, run box and 1 and just throw Precious on James Harden in the non-Embiid minutes. But I mean, Gary, I don't know. Gary almost plays to James Harden's strengths. He plays up on you, under your chin. He reaches a lot. Yeah, he's very handsy, and James Harden loves that. He loves that. That would make most offensive players feel very uncomfortable. Not James Harden. He loves it. He'll take advantage of it. And he shook Gary Trent Jr. around today and did not look great. So defensive matchups, I think, have to take. You got to take a deeper look at that and see what you can switch around.
Yeah, my adjustments for Yuta. Bring him out there.
Who would have guessed?
Yeah.
Let's start wearing Harden down and just like alternating throwing guys at him and just trying to make him work a little bit more.
Also, Malachi Flynn, I think, did enough in game 2 to at least warrant a look in game 3. Just not 15, 20 minutes, whatever. Like, I think he just warranted a look at the minimum. And yeah, of course, I want Utah in there and some other guys, but
they went on the Raps went on a 15-0 run, 15-0 run in the fourth quarter with Flynn and Birch out there. If you look at the box score, Birch and Flynn are +9 and +8 respectively. The rest of the team is in the negatives. And Siakam is -23, and Achua is -24, Van Vliet's -17. The only people in the positives are Birch and Flynn. Like, okay, he didn't score, but basketball is more than just like being the guy who is like the last person to touch the ball before
this was his first ever playoff game, no, Kyle?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was, right? So
it must be, unless he got in on garbage time last night. Maybe it's possible he played garbage time last night, but let's say first ever real playoff minutes.
Yeah, so I mean, if he didn't score well, it is what it is. I mean, if he can do enough for you defensively and he can keep your scheme intact for Nick Nurse, you would expect that eventually Malachi's shots would start dropping. Again, I'm not advocating for a massive role in game 3. I'm just saying I think he did enough to warrant a look in game 3. So, yeah.
Well,
all right. So
I'm happy with this. I'm reinvigorated. I think we've ended on a positive note, and I'm ready for game 3. Why not? This is good. This is therapy. This is better than therapy. I'm looking forward
to it. That's a 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock game West Coast time. That's going to be real nice Saturday afternoon. We got 5 o'clock on Wednesday.
Are you talking about the Saturday game, 11 a.m.? Yeah, it would be. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
But Wednesday we got Philly and coming to Toronto. Tyball's got to stay home and like do his natural medicine routines to
whatever he's doing with sage and all of that,
all those viral stuff, zucchini skins on the eyes, all that kind of stuff. So Philly won't have Tyball, but everybody else will hopefully be healthy. Gary's hopefully going to feel better. Thad's thumb, we don't know. I doubt Scotty's going to be back. But you know what? I played the other week and this guy rolled his ankle, and I swear to God, it's like he got shot in the leg. Like he was kind of like Scotty, like rolling around, moaning. Like I was like, this guy's leg is fucked. And then that was Sunday, and then Wednesday night he showed up and he played. He had a little bit of a hobble. So I'm like, this guy's a little bit full of shit, but also the pain that you can initially experience with a sprain is not necessarily indicative of how
very true.
How severe it really is. Sometimes it can just be that initial tweak. So fingers crossed for Scotty. I doubt we'll see him in the next 2 games, but you never know. Guys, any last words before we close this puppy out?
No.
Follow us on Twitter. Go Raps.
Yeah, that's about it.
Warriors or Nuggets?
Who do I think will win, or who am I rooting for
tonight?
I think it's cheating. I just checked the score before I'm answering this. As soon as you asked, I checked the score. But I'm going Nuggets. They're winning by 4 points. I think they can close it out on the road. I think the Warriors are a super overrated team, and I'm only saying that because I've got a lot of 49ers fans in my life, and they're getting on me about the Raptors.
The Mavs are up 4 with no Luka. Is that what I'm seeing right now? Utah, is that what's happening?
Aiden, that's what I was telling you in the group chat. I don't believe in that Jazz team at all. I think you could spot them 2 games, and as soon as Luka comes back,
Jalen Brunson has 38 points.
You better be right because I have Dallas in 7. So.
Oh my God.
Okay, let's go watch some basketball.
Yeah. Good night to everybody.
We'll see you guys Wednesday.
Happy Passover, happy Easter, happy Ramadan.
Yep.
Whatever else you guys celebrate. Good luck for the short week. We'll see you all Wednesday. Thanks for sticking with us, guys. Thanks for enduring our cynicism and our little bit of optimism. Ciao.